What's up everybody and welcome to another episode of upcoming mods for Fallout 4. As always, if you guys enjoyed this series where I show you work in progress mods, you can leave a like or a comment on this video or subscribe to see future episodes. And one thing I feel like some people don't know is actually watching through videos is one of the best ways to help YouTube channels. YouTube looks at watch time as one of the most important statistics nowadays. But with all that being said, we could just jump into the video. So starting things off, we have the mod that I'm probably going to reference in the title of this video. It's actually going to be another one of those large-scale DLC-sized overhaul or new lands mods for Fallout 4. This time around, it's going to be called Northern Springs, and what it's going to be is a new mod taking you to northern Massachusetts. As of right now, I actually don't know much about the story, the backstory, or things like that, but we have a lot of images of in-game screenshots and some of the different locations that are going to be brought to the table from this mod. It looks like they actually have completed quite a bit of the world space. As with many of these other overhaul mods, it seems like they are fairly in the early stages of quests, but world space wise, a lot of them seem to be progressing quite nicely. This one actually looks really cool. Again, I'm showing you a mixture of videos and images. You can find links to all of these down below if you want to see the full video or the full album. I'm only showing you snippets from everything. And they actually also have a Discord and a website if you guys want to find out more about the mod or even get involved in the community or, work on the mod if that's something you're interested in. Northern Massachusetts is looking like a pretty cool place, and it actually seems like, despite my first time covering this and over the past few days, my first time hearing about this, they have quite a bit done on this mod already. So then we got another update to Wars for Fallout 4. This is going to be a mod bringing a overhaul to all the equipment in Fallout 4. It's going to be overhauling or replacing a lot of the existing items and changing them for either more modern or just better made alternatives. It's definitely not a lore friendly mod, but at the same time, what we're looking at today is going to be the Thompson. This of course being the iconic piece of equipment that you've seen in tons of movies, video games, etc, etc. And it actually is something that is kind of in Fallout 4 right now. The default SMG in Fallout 4 is based on this, although slightly different. For the reason they made the model oddly larger, and what Wars is going to do in this instance is actually taken a new model as well as some new attachments to make it more akin to the original variant that you're so used to seeing. I personally really like these changes. I feel like the SMG in Fallout 4 had potential to be really cool, but in execution kind of sucked. I'm not a fan of it. I rarely use it, and SMG mods are one of my most common downloads as far as that category, because I feel like the vanilla offerings are so few and far between. So we actually got a massive update to many of the different things Covadonga is currently working on. This is like a bulk post on Nexus, so I will have it linked down below. But now we'll kind of go over each thing he gives updates on one by one. He starts it off by announcing all these different pieces of equipment are going to be put into one singular pack, which I really love. We have very few of these on Nexus or for Fallout 4 in general right now, and it's annoying when starting a new playthrough to have to download 20 mods just to make the game feel like the way you want it to. So starting things off, one of the first things in this pack is going to be the Stayer M1912. We haven't seen an update on this guy in a very long time. I think it's been over 8 months or something like that, but it looked extremely promising. And even by these images, it looks pretty cool. It kind of has a similar vibe to the classic M1911, but at the same time, even just looking at it, it looks quite a bit different. And then we also do have the M1917 Flare. We just kind of mentioned on this post that it's going to work pretty much identical to the vanilla Flare, which I know is going to make a lot of people happy. I really love these kind of things. It's something that you probably use in your game. You probably used it multiple times, especially with the recent release of the militarized Minutemen, but getting an alternative to that classic item that will just kind of spice up the game a little bit is always nice to see. And then one I know a lot of you guys are going to really like, the Stayer MP34. So this of course is another classic that we've definitely seen, or you've definitely seen in other video games. And as you can see, it just looks really high quality. I'm not actually sure we've ever seen an image of this one before now, but I'm excited for this. As I mentioned earlier, SMGs are pretty few and far between in Fallout 4. Getting this as a replacement will be pretty cool. Then we have the Gewer 41. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but that's just how I've always said it in my head. Many people are probably familiar with the Gewer 43. As he mentions in the description in this one, this is actually the father figure of that. It was the predecessor. Either way, looking really cool, and I really like how this pack is actually covering a wide base. Like, it seems like it's going to occupy pretty much all the major weapon categories that do appear in Fallout 4. And then we have the Martini Henry, made very famous by Battlefield 1, especially because of how overpowered it was right after the game's release. This one's looking pretty cool. We actually saw an update to this very recently by DPolari, but of course it will be included in this pack also. Then we do have the Ithaca M37. This is going to be very similar to some of those other shotguns you've seen from this time period. It's because it was based off of those, kind of a copy of them in one way. Funnily enough, this is actually produced about an hour and a half south of me. That was kind of where the headquarters for the Ithaca company that created this was. Either way, it looks great. Obviously this one's was more work in progress than some of the other ones, but I always love pump actions. If we get a good set of pump action animations on this, I think it's going to feel very special to use in game. And another heavily work in progress one, the Gear 98. There's really not much to say about it. I love bolt actions in Fallout 4, especially when they do really high damage to kind of balance them out. I just think it's very satisfying to use. They actually have the Mauser C96. He's actually showed us this in the past, but he said he wasn't happy with the texture, so those are getting redone on this one in particular. I love this gun. I've used it in other video games. I think it's going to be a ton of fun to use in Fallout 4. Hopefully there is a full auto version, which I think there should be. Then we actually have a bunch of different grenades, which is pretty interesting. These are going to be hopefully cool in the game because grenades in Fallout 4 are an area that there isn't a ton of mods. Like you get the occasional that pops up, a few overhauls have come up over the past few years, but something really adding in a totally custom and new grenade is, well, just not really present. And again, just really reinforcing that idea I said earlier, this is really covering all bases in Fallout 4. And then we do have the Car 98K. This is another one that you probably used in Call of Duty or other World War II shooters on PC. Looking very good. I believe we've seen the most updates for this one over the past months, and I'm quite excited to get it in game. And then finally, to conclude the list, we do have the Tokarev TT33, and I love this one. I remember using it back in like Gary's mod and my Dark RP days. It was just a ton of fun to use. Covadonga actually released a beta version of this one a while ago, but he does mention he's redoing the textures, so hopefully we'll get an even better looking one in the final release of this pack. So this is actually a help post on the Fallout mod subreddit, but someone's making this mod that's going to change the map icon's color, and he was actually having some issues with it. I'll have a link to the post down below in case you want to potentially help him. It's about 5 days old now, so maybe he figured it out, but the map he is creating looked amazing. Basically, again, it's just going to be changing some of the icon colors and actually underlaying a map probably of an area that looks a little bit more realistic, but I just really like the look of this. Obviously, we have a few custom Pip-Boy map mods right now for Fallout 4, but nothing really gave off this same aesthetic, or at least nothing I've seen. It seems like it's going to be a fairly simple mod, but I want to give it a shout out because again, I really love the way this looked. So we got some more updates to the Brotherhood of Steel power armor that's currently a work in progress by Newermind43. This is almost going to be like a redux version of the Midwestern power armor that he released quite a while ago. He is rebuilding it seemingly from the ground up. We got some cool screenshots of it, but of course also some images of the textures, and it's also going to be getting textures by D. Polari. It seems like that's going to be an alternate set of textures available with the full mod, and they're quite distinctively different. They have those white highlights there and the accents everywhere, and I kind of like it though. Power armor mods have been extremely scarce in Fallout 4 modding for whatever reason. It seems like they were a huge craze for the first year or two, but now they are just nowhere to be seen. I actually think this is the only work in progress power armor mod even that I've covered over the past 6 months. Speaking of things that are scarce in Fallout 4, we also have a launcher. There are so few explosive mods for Fallout 4, not even counting grenades, just even including like launchers. I think the only ones like the RPG-7. Outside of that, it looks like this may be one of the only other alternatives when it is hopefully released. I love this kind of style of launcher and design. I just think they're fun to use, they're very satisfying to use. And he does mention he's probably going to add in a new kind of ammo with this mod, which is pretty cool. I'm excited for that. It also seems like he may be having some animation issues or some issues animating certain things, so if you are talented or knowledgeable in that area and you want to help this mod author out, I will have a link down below to his post so you can check it out. So we actually had another update to the broken Elm Town. I believe I've showed you guys this a couple times in the past. I think this project started out as a recreation of the map seen in Metro Exodus's trailer, but since then it's kind of turned into its own town and its own new world space. I'm not entirely sure as to how this is going to be implemented into the game. Well, the guy that made this, Hall 00117, is actually a very talented mod author, and some of you may not know, he was kind of the guy that started the whole Fallout 4 New Vegas recreation. A while ago, in one of the earlier episodes of upcoming mods, he made, I think it was the area from Good Springs to Prim, or something like that. I covered it in the series, and a bunch of other mod authors reached out to him, and the original Fallout 4 New Vegas was created. That eventually kind of crashed and burned, and we got the new Fallout 4 New Vegas from that remnants of the team. But either way, I just wanted to show you guys what he's working on currently. He is very talented in this area of creating maps or level design, whatever you want to call it. And hopefully one of these things that he has been working on will get released because they look really freaking good. But speaking of Fallout New Vegas, we actually got some updates on the Antimaterial R that was appearing in that mod. We've seen some animations for this by War Daddy as well as some videos in the past, but now we actually get a look of what looks like some of the finalized textures as well as some attachments for it that look pretty freaking cool. This of course being a recreation of the item that did appear in Fallout New Vegas. It looks so much better in Fallout 4. I feel like that's one of the standout things about this more so than anything else is how good it looks. I'm very excited to get this in game. I love using these types of things in Fallout 4. I just typically have these longer range rifles as my go-to, and I think it'll definitely be a great addition to the game, both for the nostalgia reasons and of course just because it's going to be a ton of fun to use. Then we got some more updates on that mod Survarium Armors. I think that's how you pronounce it. I showed you guys a little while ago. And more or less is just going to be a set of custom armors that look really good. And they actually look like they'll fit in Fallout 4 quite well. It seems like a bunch of things that are like handmade, or maybe that paramilitary or military people were wearing before the bombs dropped, and now their remnants of those are present in the game. Or maybe it's just from another video game and I don't know what it's referencing. But either way, they look amazing. And I actually really like some of the vibes they're giving off. I think this will actually be pretty fitting with some of the different pieces of equipment we have in Fallout 4. A lot of the stuff we have is modern military themed, and I think pairing it with these armors will make your character look quite cool. So we got something pretty cool. This is going to be called the Oppressor Dog Armor. So it's going to be a new armor for dog meat that has kind of a Raider theme. It's actually by Third Storm, who's the mod author behind the Raider Overhaul. And this looks amazing. Obviously, we don't get many armors for dog meat. We do have the one by Fading Signal adding in the vest, but outside of that, there's only a few options out there. And it seems like this is going to be a pretty cool one, especially if you do the Nuke World DLC aligned with the Raiders or something like that. You could put this on your dog, as well as use some Raider armors yourself, and create a pretty awesome looking duo. I really like this one. Hopefully it'll actually be integrated into the level list of Raiders dogs also. I think that'd be pretty cool, and it would definitely make some of those enemy dogs way scarier when they're running at you. So we got some updates to Fallout Cascadia, this of course being the Overhaul mod adding in Seattle as a new playable world space using Fallout 4's engine. Something they've been working on and posting updates on their Twitter is actually this thing called Evergreen Point Bridge, or Bridgetown, and more or less it's going to be a very sea-based town or area, and I love this. We have a few of these in Fallout 4, but I feel like they were never fully taken advantage of, and I think it's a really cool concept. It's like a in-game version of the real-world Venice. Seattle obviously being very well known for its rain and kind of wet nature. I think it'll be fitting to have this as a part of it. And either way, I just want to keep you guys up to date. Progress on Fallout Cascadia is still being made. I get questions every video like, hey, what's going on with that mod? Is it dead? And no, it actually is still pretty active. And if you follow them on Twitter or even on YouTube, they do live stream really regularly. So if you want to watch the progress to this mod literally live, you can do so. And I will have a link to their YouTube channel down below.